Okay.
Okay, we're going to call the regular city council meeting August 2nd, 2023 to order. Join me in the pledge, please. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call.
Mayor Allison is absent. Tom Baylor.
Here.
Kathy Sherman.
Here.
Casey Kinsman.
Here.
Wendy Rainey.
Here.
Ann Schaefer is absent. Kristen Carpenter.
Here.
And Ken Jones is absent. That's a quorum of council.
Okay, the agenda is before you. Entertain a motion.
Move to approve the agenda.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion on the agenda? Okay. Okay, no, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay. Disclosure of conflict of interest. Anybody? No. All right, communication by petition visitors, we have a guest speaker, no. Okay, audience comments regarding the agenda items. If anyone would like to speak, 3 minutes, anything on the agenda, please come forward, give your name and address. And, okay. Do we have anybody from the CCMCA board?
No.
School board? No. All right, consent calendar for you.
Okay, it's just the minutes this time. So on the consent calendar, Kathy Sherman.
Yes.
Ann Schaefer is absent. Casey Kinsman.
Yes.
Kristen Carpenter.
Yes.
Tom Baylor.
Yes.
Wendy Rainey.
Yes.
And Ken Jones is absent. The consent calendar is approved.
Okay. Mayor's report, city manager report.
Okay, thank you. For the last 3 weeks now, we've been in negotiations with the IBEW. We have not reached resolution. There will be an executive session at the end of this meeting to have a conversation about how to move forward. We are well in the midst of our accounting program transition. Laura Cloward is working on contract to help us with that, to allow our staff the freedom to do the work that they need to do every day and get us well along our way in making that transition. In the packet, attachment A is the financials through 6/30, so that takes us through half of the year. We're tracking fairly well. We'll need to have we are starting the budget process, and we'll have some conversations with you about where we stand. We'll be working with department heads to get their budgets figured out, to determine priorities, and probably most importantly, we're going to use a community engagement tool to, again, just reconnect with the community about what their priorities are and where we should be focusing our budgetary efforts as well as our just general efforts. Learning what we're doing well and what we're not doing well, what we can improve, and where we should focus our resources. With that, we put out an RFP recently for investment services. We haven't done that for a while. We'll be getting responses back, and I've already heard for 3 or 4 firms that are interested in applying, so we'll see what comes in. The deadline for that is the 18th. And then finally, there's been a lot of talk around NVE. It was our hope that we would have their leadership here at this meeting to discuss the hospital transition planning. They've had a shakeup of sorts within their leadership. I talked to Daryl Olson yesterday, and he asked for patience while they go through some leadership changes. They do have interim folks in key positions, and but as it stands now, they probably won't be for another 6 months or so before they can come here and chat about what their thinking is around the hospital and the clinic. So that's on a pause, and we'll keep you posted. But we're in good communication with NBE, and we'll continue to update you. And I have invited them to come to a council meeting and discuss where they stand and what the plans are for the future. So that may not happen in August, but certainly sometime in September is my guess. In the meantime, they do have interim leadership both at the clinic and at the tribe. And Bert Adams, who had put forward his resignation on the Shepherd's Point project, has come back and is continuing his leadership on that project. So that's what I know. And again, I've had reassurances from Daryl, who is the chair of the council, and I'll keep you posted. And with that, I want to turn the conversation to Police Chief Andrew Goss. I asked him to come speak today to talk about his experiences here for over the last year. As you all know, he has submitted his resignation. He and his family will be moving out of Cordova. But certainly he's gained a lot of insights about the strengths and weaknesses of the department, and he will gladly come and share his thinking about the best ways that he views we might consider going forward. So thank you.
Thank you, I appreciate this time. I'm gonna hand out a packet real quick. Like Helen said, there's a lot of things I've seen, a lot of improvements that we've done. But it comes down to one thing, well, not one thing, there's several, but this is the main thing. As I talk, I want you to kind of look over these numbers of what these gentlemen here, who you're lucky to have. These guys are the most hardworking, most loyal, never complaining officers that you'll ever have. With that in mind, if we don't give them the help they need, that's not going to last long. That's not a threat. That's reality. These guys are working around the clock. I can say that because I've been there with them. And this isn't a complaint. Okay? You guys, I say you guys, as a city council, everybody here, you like what you've seen when we did the drug bust. You like what you've seen when we did the warrants arrest and whatever arrest, and being visible on the streets. My guys are getting tired. Okay, there's 3 of them. We have Blake in training. He doesn't get done until October. Okay, you got to think about what happens if an officer goes to training. Okay, that's other officers stepping up and filling their spots after they worked a 12-hour shift. If an officer gets sick, which just happened, officer was sick. Myself and Mick Micken were gone. That left 2 officers working day and night. Okay, until we got back. That's not sustainable. Okay, if you look at the stats where we're at right now, we're busy. And I don't know if you guys, or if a lot of people think, well, we just clear a call, that's it. No, there's so much more that goes into a call. Okay, if it's an arrest, we have to go through the whole booking process. Okay, which takes a good hour or 2 if you're not interrupted. Okay, but you guys got to think, there's only 1 officer on shift to handle the city. And a lot of you may be thinking, oh, that's just Cordova, nothing happens here. I can tell you, BS, because I've been a part of it. We're not the same Cordova. Okay, my officers are getting stretched thin. They do the booking process, they get a call, they have to put the prisoner in jail, run and go handle the call, come back, try to get the report done, try to true file, try to get them booked in on ACOMs, which is all part of one report. Okay, and then handle all the other calls that are coming in. I've had a couple wives come up and talk to me. They said, you know, it feels like I'm a single parent raising a family. My husband's never home. And when he is home, they're beyond exhausted or agitated. Okay? Please put yourselves in my officer's shoes. I know we're all short-staffed. I get that. I understand that. I know there's probably not much that we're going to be able to do with the budget until 2024. You know, coming up here in October talking about the new budget. Okay, but these guys need help. So if the help doesn't come, if the officers don't come, then unfortunately you'll probably see some officers leaving. Another important factor in our officers' presence, or for us to be here, is business. Okay, I was told that some businesses or, entities of the city are more important than others. Okay? Because if they don't do something, they get fined, they get shut down, businesses will leave. Okay? If you guys understand that we have a contract with the airport, okay, with the TSA. If we don't have an officer out there 7 days a week, from 12:30 to 3:30, per the contract, TSA can pull Alaska Airlines out of Cordova. And I can tell you right now, with one officer, it's physically impossible. Okay? Because I am the one on day shift that's handling the calls, that's trying to do the chief duties. Okay? That's doing everything else, and then trying to get out and handle the airport. Robbie, how often have we been out? I have Robbie here that he's going to explain a little bit more in detail, if that's okay with you, City Council, of how important this contract is. This would cause a huge uproar in the community. And you can't expect one officer to handle all these calls, handle everything in town, and then be in a certain spot for 3 hours during the day. Robin?
Good evening, Council. My name is Robert Matson. I live at 301 Lake Avenue. I'm here tonight to speak as a state, on behalf of the state, as the airport manager and the highways foreman for Cordova, regarding the police presence at the 13 Mile Airport, per the MOA between the state of Alaska and the city of Cordova. The city of Cordova police officer is required to be at the terminal or within 5 minutes response every time the Alaska Airlines passenger flights arrive or are on the ground. The exception is where there is an emergency. Over the last year, on average, there has been one officer present for 2 flights per week. Chief Goss and I have spoken at length on this matter, trying to come up with a resolution. The main issue is the lack of sufficient staffing. If the officer on duty is dealing with something in town that can't be at the airport for the flight, it is a TSA regulation that a law enforcement officer is in uniform at the airport. Something I want you all to be aware of is that if this TSA regulation, CFR 1542-215 alpha, cannot be met, TSA can refuse to allow the flights into Cordova. 13 Mile Airport is the lifeline, and this would be a major problem for our entire community. In closing, this resource is absolutely vital to the community, and adding staffing to the police department is a priority of the utmost concern. Thank you.
Thank you, Robbie. It's not only, I don't want to keep harping on that, but you think about it, there's several community members that work at the airport, okay? If that happens to get pulled out, and again, I'm not using this as a threat, this is just kind of reality of what we're facing right now. We physically can't man the airport 7 days a week with one officer on shift. Getting into the hours worked for your officer, in a 26-week time frame, according to their hours, my officers have worked 37 weeks. Okay, that's significant. That's a lot. In my position, as you know, and I don't want to talk about too much about me, I'm here for my guys. I'm here for this community. These guys are the force. These guys are what's making it happen. And I want to see them succeed. I want to see this community succeed. I want to see these officers and more officers to come to help this beautiful community. Okay. We have done a lot of good things. I know I just started off. That's kind of how I am. I wear my heart on my sleeve, and I kind of say how I think it is. But these are the facts. This is what it comes down to. Is sooner or later my officers are going to come up to me or the new chief and say, hey, we like what you're doing. The morale's great in my department, so don't get thrown on that. Morale's great. But they're tired. They're exhausted, and at one point they're going to come up to the chief, whoever it is, and say, you know what? It's time for me to go somewhere else that has 2 officers per shift or more, actual days off. Because they get days off here, but they always get called in. So they're worried about going out the road. Heck, I've had a couple officers call me. They, on their days off, asking if they had permission to go out the road with their family. Because the reality is they always get called back in. I had one officer, he was going on a moose hunt. Had everything going, got called back in. Right. Cordova, this is unsustainable. This isn't gonna work, it can't work. So I'm pleading for my officers that you have are here that are great, that do a great job and are loyal to this community. You wanna help them out, keep them around. That's what I ask. I appreciate this time. I appreciate the time that I've had to serve as your chief. Even though it be short, I've learned a ton from these officers. A ton. Learned a ton from this community. And I'm very grateful for the opportunity that I've had. Would it be okay for each one of my officers to speak for a minute or less? Are you guys opposed to that? Or do you want them to wait till the end?
Yeah, why don't we get to the end of the meeting?
Thank you,
This
sir.
is appropriate time.
Okay, that's all I have today. Thank you.
Are we able to ask some questions here, or
Yep, go for it.
you might take a seat just so you can be on the microphone? So, Tuna, maybe you don't know, feel free to reach out. What revenue comes into your department and ultimately the city with the TSA?
So
contract,
TSA,
that
so
13 mile.
six-
I mean, it's really what the state is.
yes, we get $6,666 a month, totaling $80,000 a year.
And that's a maximum amount, right? Because it's based off your visits, you know. If you're not there, you're not getting paid, correct?
That is correct.
Yeah, yeah. So there's lost revenue there,
Yep.
so.
Yes.
And then if I can just, what are you asking for? What do you?
In the
what do you
perfect
want?
world,
What do
I
you-
need 4 more officers, but
Okay.
we're asking for 2 for next year. You look at it, yeah, I took this position as they say, a working chief, but being a chief and a patrol officer, that's insane.
Sure. That's all the questions I have. Thank you for clarifying that.
Anybody else? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
And then finally, I want to call up Colin Bronson. Yes, to just do a South Harbor project update. Here we are already in August, and we've got a project that's starting in less than 2 months.
Good evening, City Council. So, yes, we're about 6 weeks out from starting our project. 65% design plan is being approved. 95% will arrive on Friday for our review. And at 95%, that'll have the engineer of records signature on it and essentially be final. You know, there might be a couple fine tuning items, but 95 really is the final. That's 4th of August. We'll have about a week or so to turn that around. Permitting, that is our big non-design issue right now. Working through the different agencies and their requirements, and a lot of these dovetail, and a lot of them, or several of them, are standalone. So I can go through them unless you guys have questions, but most everything, or actually everything, is out for public comment, and they're at about a 30-day window. But to summarize all of these, we should be expecting the closure of those 30-day comment periods by the end of August, and then it takes a week or 2 to process comments, and then the agencies to get back to us. Most of the comments are publicly available, although there are a couple that have sort of private comments that come straight to the agency. And so we don't have access to those until the end. So don't anticipate any negative feedback, perhaps some questions, but since it's a replacement in kind, we're really not breaking any new ground, digging in any virgin territory. So we don't think that there's going to be much in the way of objection to the project. But again, that we won't know for sure until the end of August at the earliest, and then a couple weeks to get back to us. And then part of that is NEPA. Once we get a few of those processes done, then we can finish NEPA, and NEPA dovetails into our raise grant with MARAD. With MARAD, we're getting some good traction. For a while, we did not get a lot of responses from MARAD, and for whatever reason, I think maybe now they finally understand that we are on our critical path to begin construction. And so now we're getting good feedback from them, like within 48 hours, whereas a few months ago, it would be 4 weeks at least. So they're working, we've submitted all of our documentation for the grant agreement. They're working on the grant agreement. They have all our dollars and cents. They understand where our budget is, where our money is spent. They want to know where all of our money goes, not just their money. They want to see where you're spending every nickel. And it makes sense, as you know, they're about 45% of the overall budget with that 20 million. So they've seen it. There's no secrets in our budget. It is what it is. We've spent, by the end, we just got our latest invoice, the end of July, that'll put us at about 14.5, 15 million spent, and so that'll give us about 5 million or so remainder. And what we've done with Turnagain is that we've put ourselves on sort of a spending diet where we're going to spend about $1.5 million per month for the next 3 months, so that we don't exhaust everything, because we could spend it all in 1 month very easily. So that we have some money to carry us through construction while we're waiting for the MARAD money to kick in. So that's easy to do because we bought ahead and we don't have any hangups right now with the budget. So it's going to be coming in tight, just to be honest with you. It's going to come in tight, and that's assuming all the permitting comes in at the right time, which it'll come in, but it's just all going to come in at the last minute. It's just kind of the way these things are. So actually looking at the 79 reports on the expansion, the harbor we know now, is kind of the same way. So we've got a lot of boxes to check, but we've put them all in the hands of the agencies. They've got the information. They just need to do their part. So that's where it stands with permitting. That's where it stands with money. We've closed out our Clean Water Fund at $1.975 million. We've closed out our Pink Salmon Disaster Fund at just shy of $670,000. And on a good note, we received an additional $750,000 from the Denali Commission, and so those details we're working on right now. I'm filling out those grant agreement documents for them to get that money. I suspect we'll get that money probably in the next month or two, and it's already spent. So that'll take the edge off of what I call the Cordova supplemental fund, that $3.9 million that the city council approved. So that'll drop it to 3.2. We're not going to have any additional items, any nice to haves on the harbor. So that just money's just going to take a little bit of the sting out of our supplemental fund that the city ponied up. The congressional appropriation on the House side, the CPF, the Community Project Fund, no announcements yet. I suspect Thanksgiving, Christmas, just because it's a long process and it has to have Senate approval. But Rep. Peltola pushed our project through. Of the many projects, each state got 15 projects. We were one of our 15 from Alaska. We asked for $4 million. If I read the tea leaves correctly, it might come in at $1 million, but we got a pretty strong response back from Peltola's office that, yeah, money is coming. So that's not an absolute, that's just sort of listening, talking to folks, and that's where we're at with that. But nothing is guaranteed on that, but the $750 we do have, so that's a good thing. Harbor vessel relocation, we have a plan. We're working on the plan. We're executing the plan. Everything's going to happen September 15th, so it's going to be chaos in the harbor and in the shipyard September 15th. But it's going to take time, but we've got time to do it. We've got a few weeks to get that done as the barges are coming in with equipment. So we'll be working on that. We've got some creative solutions with removing the finger floats. on the A and B float on the north side. That'll work out really well and give us some more berths that we need for those deep draft vessels, and moving out the trailered vessels. So not a ton, actually very little feedback on the A and B float removal, because again, I think people understand that, you know, everyone's got to help out on this one. So that's really where we're at. Otherwise, production's good, no issues with long lead time items. We bought everything, everything's there. We are on schedule with overall production, or ahead of schedule with overall production. And to go back to my original point, that's what allows us to throttle back on our spending for the next few months, because we're in a good place with that. So, pending your questions, that is my report.
Any questions?
All right, thanks for your time.
Good
You're
job.
keeping us well informed.
Yes, thank you, Colin.
Excuse me, Vice Mayor. Would it be possible to hear from the police department instead of making them stand and wait till the end of the meeting? I'd really like to, out of respect for them, let them say their piece so they can go.
Well, we've actually only got a couple more items. I think it's a fairly quick meeting. Is there any other?
No, that's
Kind of,
my report.
we flew right by the manager report there. If there's any questions for the manager?
I have a question real quick. So have we purchased the Arctic Care 365 migration server software upgrade? Is that something we have?
Yes, we're doing it through Arctic IT. I need to confirm, but we should, I'm positive we do. But there's a part of me that isn't positive, so let me get back to you.
And I guess my follow-up to that is, where did the funding come for that? Is that?
I will have to get back to you on
Okay.
all of those things, yeah.
Perfect. No, I appreciate it.
Yes.
Thanks for acting on your radar. Thank you.
Any questions? Then I kind of question or comment that I think last time we did the budget with the police, we kind of fought pretty hard to get that one extra officer. Now for requesting 2 officers, maybe you can let us know here in the future what that would, impact that would be on the budget and where that would come from.
Sure, and to the officers here and to Chief, they wanted to share their concerns. There's a lot of work that needs to be done on the budget, and that will all be part of the process. The department will get to present a budget to me and working with you as we head towards a final budget in December. So there'll be plenty of opportunity for that.
Okay, yeah, it just helps to have it, you know, be thinking about it. Okay. We've got the department's quarterly reports. Any discussion on that?
No, but I always appreciate them.
Yeah, they're well welcome.
And we do read them. I mean, I read them.
I was actually in, it's kind of, with the police to hear today, but I was kind of surprised reading through that. Was it 45 days in jail, 40, something like that? It's for the first part of the year. I'm like, I didn't realize the jail was getting used quite that much. That's a lot of jail time. So that's interesting, along with the rest of the information.
I was happy to see the library attendance. Who says we don't need libraries?
Okay, that's all in correspondence. We have ordinance 1208. An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Cordova, Alaska, authorizing the city manager to enter a 20-year lease with the United States Forest Service for a portion of property described as roughly 4,500 square foot portion of Lot 3, Block 7A, Tidewall Development Park. This is the second reading.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I move we adopt ordinance 1208.
Second.
Second, all right, discussion? Go ahead.
I moved it, this is the second reading, this is an issue we've talked about quite a bit. The minutes from our last meeting reflect the support for this lease for the Forest Service, which is a key community partner, and so I'm supporting the motion.
Okay. Anyone who wishes to speak against it? Okay, if there's no more discussion, we'll call for the vote.
Okay, on the second reading ordinance, it is a roll call, so on adoption of ordinance 1208. Tom Baylor,
Yes.
Wendy Rainey,
Yes.
Ken Jones is absent, and Schaefer is absent. Casey Kinsman,
Yes.
Kristen Carpenter,
Yes.
Kathy Sherman.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Okay. And we have resolution 08-23-27, a resolution of the City Council, City of Cordova accepting ownership and maintenance of 3,100 feet of sewer main and lift station. Page 122.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes,
I-
not really mayor, but okay.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Mr. Vice Mayor, whatever that is. Yes, for some habits.
Fill in.
I move we approve resolution 08-23-27, a resolution of the council of the city of Cordova, Alaska, accepting ownership and maintenance of 3,100 feet of sewer main and a lift station.
I'll second.
Okay, been moved second, discussion, go ahead.
So this is a project that has been in the works for a long time, was undertaken to increase capacity with the addition of the new Science Center facility and also to allow for future expansion along that corridor. And I'm probably gonna support it, but I made a motion so we can talk about it.
Okay.
I am in support of this. I know this has been under discussion for a very long time. It also benefited the city, and the Science Center worked closely with the city when they were working on this. And we were able to increase I believe our main line out there, if I'm not wrong, to a larger gauge, which will benefit in the future. So I think the city and Science Center worked well together on this. I think we all were in communication at the time we needed to be, and everybody knew that we would be inheriting this, so I'm in favor of it.
Okay, any other discussion? Okay, we'll call for the vote.
It can be a voice vote, or
Okay. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? And motion passed. All right, that leads us to pending agenda. Is there anything that talk about or bring to discussion?
how's everybody feeling about the second August meeting? I think Tom said you could be on the phone,
I'll be on the
correct?
phone, yeah.
Is anybody traveling or not able? I would imagine Kenny will still be sailing, not to say he can't attend, but
My future is up in the air, but I could be on the phone.
I'll be around.
Okay.
Right now.
does anybody want to cancel it?
Get away with it. I mean, how, is there pressing business or?
I mean, we can throw a special if there needs to be. I think planning and zoning will have a few items for us, but they are meeting late this month, so it won't make the meeting on the 16th anyway, so it would be ready for the first meeting in September.
Well, if we don't have any pressing.
Is there
Yeah,
anything with the IDEW negotiations that would?
We won't meet again until September.
Okay.
Okay.
If we don't have to.
Special
Sounds like
meetings
we
are
can-
fine.
Or if we had a special
Yeah.
meeting, yeah, a short
Okay.
meeting thing if you need.
Yep.
Oh,
Well,
Till
all right,
September.
sounds
Yeah.
like it's not needed.
Sounds good.
Okay, is there anything else? Okay, audience participation. Please come forward, state your name and address for the record. Please speak into the mic so we can get it recorded.
Good evening, Cameron Hayden, 1.7 Mile White Shed, Marina Road. Council Manager Howitt, how are you? I appreciate you having us up tonight. I just wanted to speak a little bit tonight about things that I'm passionate about and that affect me and my people. Currently at the police department, we're on track to spend in overtime money what it would take to cover one entry-level officer position. Okay, and that's not to say much, but if you look at the numbers, 55,000 is I believe that's second quarter or third quarter, so that's not accounting for an entire year. This is the second time I've addressed council in almost as many years. I understand that the police department has a long way to go, and we're working every day to make it the department that we feel it can be. You've got a great group of young officers here currently. They're looking to build a solid foundation for the future, but in order to do that, some hard decisions have to be made, and the police department needs to be a little higher on the list than it currently is. I'll have been here almost 7 years in December. Over that time, I've seen 7 officers come and go, which averages about one every year, year and a half. 2 of those officers have come back, and Chief Goss, Officer McMicken. They see the potential here, having worked other places, and they decided they'd give it another shot. Currently we are driving ourselves into the ground, and it's not sustainable. Chief Goss alluded to a story earlier when he addressed you where he and Officer McMicken were out of town, and it left 2 officers to cover the slack. Well, one of those officers got sick while they were away with the flu and couldn't come in, so that left 1 guy to cover days and nights 24/7 for the better part of a calendar week. The Alaska Wildlife Troopers, who are our backing officers, they were out of town, and our Forest Service law enforcement officer, Andrew Morse, he was also unavailable. So that leaves 1 guy to cover that. And here in a few weeks, Officer Pfizer is leaving on paternity leave. And he is going to Anchorage, obviously, to have his baby with his wife. That leaves Officer McMicken and myself in town to cover 24/7 days and nights, because Officer Reese is still in training. He can't go out on his own until October, and that's due to liability reasons. He hasn't completed his field training and evaluation program. So with that in mind, you've got 2 guys, again, covering 24/7, and because of our exhaustion, I hate to say it, but we're liable to make mistakes. Mistaking cell phones for firearms in the hands of people that are up to no good. Falling asleep at the wheel. I can't tell you how many times I've pulled myself out of a ditch almost, nodding off at the wheel because I haven't had an adequate amount of sleep. And this is just basic shifts here we're talking about. Since I last addressed you, I've spent 24 hours in uniform. Can you think of another profession that would require a worker to do that? Here in Cordova, unfortunately, it's just the police department. We're always tethered to a phone. We're always waiting for that ball to drop and for that call out to happen. Now, again, we've got a lot of great young men here on this team, and we're looking to build a sound foundation, but that's going to require the city and the council here to make an investment in the police department, because ultimately it is an investment in your community at the end of the day. There's only so long that we can work this kind of a schedule, and while we're willing to hold on in the event that we see some forward progress in the hiring department here fiscal year 2024, but I don't know how much longer I can say that the rest of us will hold on for. Okay, I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Daniel Pfizer, police officer here with Cordova. I've been here for about 3 years. I'd like to just give y'all a little bit of perspective of what our lives are like. Every single day, as Sergeant Hayden said, we go to work or we have our phone on us and we are on call 24/7. Just because there's an officer on duty doesn't mean that everything's covered and good. There has to be somebody that's going to back that officer up if he gets in trouble. Now, I can look back and I can ask my fellow officers who's been assaulted, who's had a gun pulled on him. I'm sure they all have. I have. I've had a guy pull a gun on me and have it in my face. And it went from completely cordial to, oh shoot, I have a gun in my face, in less than a second. When that call comes out, I need an officer there 5 seconds ago, not 5 to 10 minutes from now. I got assaulted last year. I was just serving paperwork, and the gentleman came out and assaulted me. I went to go key up my radio and call for a 1069 emergency backup, and I went, what is the point? If he decides he's going to come after me, it's up to me to save my own hide, because no one's coming in time. I'm either going to be dead or I'm going to have to handle this situation myself. If we have a school shooting, we have one officer, or any shooting, any sort of violent critical incident, we have one officer to respond to that. And heaven forbid that officer goes into the situation, he gets killed. We can't afford to have any officers go down. And the lawsuit that this city would face, that this department would face, if we go in and then one of us gets killed, and then we cannot protect or get to that incident in time before everyone else is injured or killed, would be absolutely devastating. Again, every single one of us, when we go home, we have our phones on us and we are on call. That doesn't mean we're just available for a phone call to say, yeah man, this is how you fix the toilet. We're on call to get that phone call of, hey, Officer McMicken needs help. Hey, there's another call going on, need you to take care of. We have to be near our gear, near our phone, near our car to go out. We can't go out on vacation. We can't afford to get sick. We can't afford to get hurt. We're it. So please, help us be able to protect this city that we all care about. Thank you.
I'm also McMicken. I'm going to keep it brief. Two officers before me kind of did a really good job talking about kind of the reality of what we do, right? And I don't think anyone on the council in the community would want to do something potentially dangerous by themselves. Anyone can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think so. Earlier there were some comments about the jail, right? You mentioned not knowing the jail was used as it is, or as often as it is. Out of the people that are in there, that's a 24-hour thing, right? That requires an officer, feed someone, move someone, phone calls, court, linens, hygiene, right? Basically your needs that you need, right? And that's 24 hours. So that also counts during lunch, which goes into the airport time as well. So that takes away the officer from the airport. It's a big thing. I mean, I don't necessarily enjoy working by myself. I went to a call the other day, right? There was like 40 people out there, and it was a fight call. I had no idea what was going on. Luckily, it was only 3 people. Luckily. 3 people is still a lot of people to 1 person. But there's 40 people outside that building. And I walked around that corner, and I was like, wow. I wish at least I had 1 other guy with me. It would have been awesome. But it's just me. It's just the guys behind me. Every day. That's all. Thanks.
Good evening, Council. Some of you may have already met me or know me. For those of you who haven't, I'm Officer Reese. I am the newest officer in training wheels, trying to figure out the ropes. I've been with the Cordova Police Department since 2014 as a dispatcher.
I was promoted to dispatch supervisor a few years back, so I've got some, I would say I have some experience seeing the guys come and go, seeing what they go through. As a dispatch supervisor, I can definitely say the dispatchers definitely suffer from a lot of the same things these guys do, but in a different way. I spent over a year working as a dispatch supervisor with no weekend, trying to fill holes so that the rest of the crew didn't fatigue and quit, basically, trying to maintain emergency services for the city of Cordova. And I can definitely say that as an officer, I didn't expect this, but the hours we work, the just grueling workload is actually more difficult. It's far more difficult than not having a weekend. Constantly being tied to a phone, it was very awakening for me. Another thing is our wives. That's something that I really want to elaborate on. Is my wife has had to put up with me doing this for a long time. I've been with the police department for quite a while, and if it's not for her, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be able to help out. And she understands the necessity of emergency services in the community, and it's disheartening. You know, we go out, we keep the community safe every day, and a lot of the times we're unavailable. She needs basic necessities, issues with the house. She needs to go to Anchorage. I'm very rarely there to be able to help her out with those things. So she has to go about it herself. And it's pretty much expected at this point that I'm not available. And then even when I am home, I'm half in uniform with the phone on me, and you know, that phone could go off at any moment and I have to leave. Been here for a long time. I've seen a lot of officers come and go. I would say that if you guys would please consider trying to work with us and figuring out how to increase our staffing so that way we can be safer, so we can go home at the end of the night, and then also so we can be available for our wives, be available for our families. Thank you.
Hello. My name is Sharon Leopard, 405 Adams Avenue. I am the admin for the police department. I'm behind the scenes. Coming into the police department, I was formerly from the bank. So my banking world was totally different than the police department. I never realized all that it entailed for the police officers. And just the other night, I just happened to be there at the right time. We were outside, we were engaging in something that was off, we were all off the clock. And a problem arose down at the harbor. So you had chief there who went and helped. You had the trooper there that helped, and then Ryan. They called for Ryan to come and help because it was a situation. I'm not going to get into all the specifics, but I can tell you, I went upstairs and I watched on the camera. I want to see how it all unfolded because I haven't seen one thing unfold like I was first time there. I saw it from the beginning and I saw it through. It was Officer McMicken that was handling the issue. A guy was arrested. I stood there and watched him move prisoners around because we had prisoners in there. I watched him shuffle those prisoners around so we can get this other guy in. But during that entire time, it took 2.5 hours to book this guy in. And that was just the start. When he got done, it was just the start of the process. He had to go ahead and start all the paperwork. He had to make the report. There was so much involved, and that is just a small little portion. If another call came through, there was no way that he could have left that officer without calling someone in to help him. Because, I mean, they're all there 24 hours a day. I mean, I'm there a lot. Obviously, I work the 40 hours, but I'm there sometimes looking and seeing what's happening. These guys are exhausted. You wouldn't want to work just having just one person by your side. I mean, everybody has an assistant, everybody has backup. These officers have nobody but each other. And sometimes they're just tired. They come in exhausted, they come in sick, but they're doing it for the community. They love the community. They want the community to be safe. And if anything happens, it can take 10, 15, even 20 minutes to get that next officer to a scene. But I'm telling you, when I saw McMicken go through the whole process in that 2.5 hours, I was amazed. because I had no idea it took so long. And I don't think any of you guys realize, or the community realize, how long it takes to book a person in when they've been bad. So I just, please, I see the financials, I understand all that. These officers need help. They've got families they want to go home to. I'm desperate for you guys to please listen to them, listen to us. They need help, and please get another officer, 2 officers, 4 officers, and a police chief would be great. 4 more and a chief would be great. I know it's not feasible right now, but I'm asking you to please think of these men, their wives, and their children.
Thank you.
Good evening, City Council. Kelsey Hayden. My husband's been an officer for 7 years, so I'm very aware of the ins and outs of things. Something that has kind of been touched on, these guys work 12-hour shifts. They work 4 12-hour shifts, so they're working 48 hours a week. And realistically, they go in a half an hour early and they stay for at least a half an hour afterwards. That doesn't count all of the on-call time that they're also putting in. When you look at staffing right now, there's 1 guy on nights on one side of the week and another on the other side. We've got a couple guys on days. They overlap on Saturdays. If we can have 6 officers and the chief, you've got 2 guys on nights on one half of the week, 2 guys on nights the other half of the week. You have 2 officers that are on days, alternating shifts, and you have the chief. That really enables the level of community policing that we all want to see. We want to see these officers in the schools. We want to see the DARE programs happening. We want them on the sidewalks, interacting with the community, all of those things. I also want my officer to come home and to be off. I was just gone for 10 days, and he worked the entire 10 days. No one checked the mail for 10 days. All of the basic elements of life don't happen when these guys are working the hours that they're working. They are on call 24/7. I managed to convince Cameron to go out to Salmon Jam. He was off for the first time in years. We had a great time. We were home by 10:30, and he got called out at 5 a.m. It was his day off. They had already called out all the other 3 officers. Everyone got called out. And that's how it goes. Most of these cases require at least 2 people. A DUI requires 2 people. Someone has to sit with the car, someone has to go with the person. And then the amount of paperwork that comes with that, 6, 8 hours, maybe more, plus court. All of these things take bodies, and we don't have them. So at the very minimum, we need to have 6 officers and a chief. In order to be more involved and have great relationships with the community, with the kids in the community, we need at least that. And we shouldn't ever go below that. If they're not filled because we can't find the officers, that's one thing, but they should absolutely always be budgeted for. Our population doubles in the summer. Their calls are tripling in the summer. 50% of them are for the canneries easily, and their staffing isn't doubling. There's no additional staff. Other communities have security officers at those canneries. Every single one of them will have one. Some places in Alaska, they still are locking their canneries down, their employees down. That doesn't feel right to me on a moral level, but I think there are conversations and avenues that can be chased down. There are grants for funding officers that even if they only last for 3 years, that's 3 years of these guys maybe getting some backup and getting a little bit of rest. There are seasonal officers that could be looked at if they're less than 6 months that they're working here and they're retired. They can keep their certifications. Maybe they don't get in trouble with PERS if it's an interim position. I don't know. There's a lot of different opportunities, but we have to have at least 6 of them. I need my husband around. I like him, I married him, I want to hang out with him. My children need him. I want to be able to go out the road and not have to ask for permission. And the one time we've been able to go out camping this summer, he still got called out. The last several seasons of moose hunting, he's been called out and he hasn't been able to go. All these basic things that we enjoy, going home at the end of the night and having a beer, he can't do that because he's always on call. And inevitably, if he does have that one beer, he gets called out. So it's not worth it. And the quality of life is the main reason why we all live here. We've got ample woods to play in and hunt in. We've got small community where we can raise our families. And if you don't get to enjoy any of those things because you're working like dogs, it makes it hard to continue to live here. So I look forward to talking to you more throughout the budget season. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kelsey.
Hello, my name is Katie Goss, 605 Council Avenue. I'll try to keep my emotions in check. I apologize. I'm the wife of a police chief, and so we've had a lot of history of police work. And I just want to touch on one little part because we keep talking about the police officers and their on-call time. There are a lot of on-call time, and they're called in. I want to paint a little bit of a picture of that on-call. When they say they have their phones by them, it's not because of, obviously by choice, that they're waiting to hurry and get out and take away their time from their family. It's because these are their brothers in blue. This is their other family that they love and they support. So there are times that it's your son's birthday party, and that call comes out for them that, hey, I need a backup. I'm in trouble. It's an intense situation. Your son's gonna remember you forgot you didn't get to participate in their birthday party, but your brother in blue needs your support. It could be a life or death situation. But I just want to paint that picture a little bit more about this family picture. Yes, they want to be home with their wives and their children, and I've been there several years. There's times where he hasn't been there, but he wants his brothers to come home safe, and that's the biggest picture. They need more support. They need more backup to be able to feel safe at home, that they can say, okay, I can be at this birthday party, I can be at this Thanksgiving, and know that my brothers have the backup that they need. So you've heard from all these guys. They have an awesome, awesome brotherhood here. We're grateful to be a part of it, and I hope you support them and get whatever officers you can to back them. Thank you.
Thanks, Kate.
Aaron Hansen, 600 Alder. I'm really close friends with Cam. I can't speak directly for the other people, but they go hand in hand. Quality of life, we'll talk about that, and then I'll just give a couple scenarios. Cam spent days assisting in the preparation to set up moose camp. And we finally get down there, we're set up where it's already pitch black. He gets a text from Chief Taylor at the time. Says, hey, my kid had appendicitis, I gotta leave. Cam packed up and paddled back out in the morning. And I guess that's the sacrifice that he made. I won't say that that's something that people would do for their job, but to touch back on what was just said, it's for your brother. It's for the community. But even in the interactions that I have with Cameron, when he is home, he's not there. He's so sleep deprived that he's like falling asleep on the couch. He's not interacting with his children. He can't interact with us. And then we expect these individuals to be level-headed, be alert, and be physically capable of defending themselves, completely sleep deprived. Think of collegiate athletes. Think of people that are expected to do things and then remove sleep. Add serious sleep deprivation and then see how the individual performs on a physical and mental level. And I think for us to put these people through that and expect it to happen the way that it is. And it's not right. And I've just watched the snowball effect. And you take that precious time of your early child development, and you're not even there. And if you are there, you have to be prepared to leave. I mean, it's hard to get Cameron to even come to our house, because then he's away from his squad car, then he's away from his gear. It's his day off. But there really isn't a day off. Can't get him to go deer hunting. You know, there's no release for them. They don't get unwind. They're just strung tight all the time. And I hope that the community and the city can find a way to help these people out, because the longer that we continue the way that we are continuing, it's just going to end up in a reduction of people, because to expect somebody to put themselves through that is just wrong. So, thank you.
Good evening, Andy Morse, 101 Whiskey Ridge. I just wanted to reiterate, we heard a lot of good points from the chief on the need for another couple positions. It's been just a tremendous privilege to work with these officers. I've been in my role as a Forest Service law enforcement officer for about 13 years here, so I've seen a lot of officers kind of cycle through, and some chiefs. One point I want to really reiterate about these guys is this is just an incredible team right now. They're really dedicated, and like Chief Goss said, the morale is really high. Like they're asking, and as everybody comes here and asks you, I don't envy your job. Everybody's always asking for more, more, more. But I think as we look at departments across the city, this is one area where we really need to focus on it, just for the sustainability of this team. I'm kind of a problem solver, so one of the things I would like you to look at or do some research on is, so in my role, throughout Southeast, a comparable Forest Service district, there's always one LEO, one officer, and we're dispatched through the local dispatch here, as would be in the other communities. Comparable population size, like if you look at Petersburg or Wrangell, they have 2-3 times the officers that we have. So, I mean, I just want you to, in your research, take a little look at that. Maybe call down there, and, you know, the economics are kind of comparable, right? They're both fishing communities, or, you know, some timber and stuff. But it'll just give you some food for thought on, like, well, what are they doing? What kind of training do they receive? What can they do? I guarantee you their quality of life is much higher. And those guys, I think Petersburg is up to 10. It may be like a chief and 9, but you see what I'm saying. Like, those guys are not having their phones by their beds, you know, worrying, stressing about the one guy who's on. So I gave you my tenure here. So Chief Nate Taylor and I we're peers, right? You know, and just like if I could think, I worked with him for 10 years of his career or whatever he fully had in law enforcement, and just to give you like a recent comparative of, like, without putting words in his mouth, like, that's not sustainable. He's halfway through a 20. Like, if everybody's kind of going for a 20-year to get your retirement, and, you know, Valdez is way more staffed than us. Now I know the economics aren't comparable from Valdez to Cordova. They've got oil money, right? We're completely. They have access to so much more, but, you know, when you talk to him, it's like he's getting good chunks of time off. He gets to be a wrestling coach. He gets to do things that, at this current rate, these guys will never even get a fraction of that. So that quality of life is really important. I mean, I can tell you why it's important at an individual level, but it's important for the community, because then people will have a relationship with these people. I mean, think of the relationship that Mike Hicks had with everybody. as chief. He was just in the community for so long, and people could trust him, and how I seen him work and talk to people, it's like magic. And I think it's not magic, it's the fact that he worked at relationships and was here a long time and people trusted him. So whatever you could do to get to that 6 officers and a chief would just be tremendous. You know, I just have a pit in my stomach when I'm working on Friday night, Saturday night, because I know it's and it's not even for me, but if I'm out the road, it's I know there's one guy on in town. And if I'm at 27 mile, 36 mile, I know it's gonna take me as fast as I can drive, 25 minutes to go into town to back them up. And maybe about wreck the truck doing it on the dirt road. You know, so the wildlife troopers, myself, we're really trying to help these guys out and give them any support we can. They always know we're available, but it's just not the same. It's just not the same as having another Cordova police officer who's on call. So anyway, I will continue my support in any way that I can to help lift this. And everybody's suffering from recruitment right now, so please don't let that be part of your decision. That's the Forest Service, that's in every sector, we're all struggling. Law enforcement in general is, but if you could please fund the positions, that would be amazing. The last thing I'll end on, just because you may never hear this or hear it often, I'm a homeowner and I own 2 additional lots that are adjacent, so tax paying. And being here, I've been here for the Marine warehouse discussions, and I know everybody's just asking you for more, and there's less and less and less. And as I was here and I heard Alex Russin talking about how we're gonna make up for the base student allocation, and we're gonna do it through staffing, we're gonna do it through special programs, sports, whatever, and food services. And my heart goes out to it. It's really, we're cutting school lunches. We need to my point being is, we need to generate some revenue. And it doesn't need to come on property owners, just on us. I mean, look at the people in the harbor, look at everything. I'm just giving you, so you hear from somebody from the public, can we add a little bit more to a summer sales tax? Can we come up with a fuel tax or some creative way so we don't have to sit here and be I don't know where the money is going to ever come from. That's my piece. Thank you for your time and thank you for your service.
Thanks.
Okay, is there anybody else? Anything on the agenda? Okay, thank you very much for those comments. They're helpful. So, move on to council comments. Ms. Sherman.
Oh,
Start
don't
with you.
start with me.
I know you're looking that way.
I know, I'm
but-
too depressed. I appreciate all the comments tonight. I will take them to heart. In the past week, I've had to rely on the police department in another community to help, and I know how valuable it is. Kudos on the Denali Commission Award, that's pretty cool. And I really loved watching, although it was a piece of history disappearing, but I was happy to see the steelhead go, and the Hannah Cove, and so great job on that, Sam, that was a really good. Tony, well, really good project. It was exciting to see that thing fill up, so.
It's coming back.
Yeah, and that's even better. And I took a picture of it and circled the little van that I knew was ours that was going away, so. That's all I have.
I just want to thank everybody who commented. I know it's not easy to come up and speak in public, and I appreciate folks sharing the strong emotions that are involved in these decisions, so thank you for helping us understand what it's like on your end. I appreciate that. And I guess I would just echo the other comments that Councilmember Sherman made about the Denali Commission grant and the work that's being done on the harbor and the public
works. Thank you.
Alright, going around the dock. First off, thank you. I mean, as a member of the community, thank you. I appreciate that. As a Army veteran, thank you. Thank you for your service for our community. Because it is a choice. You all choose to be here and put your uniform on. You choose it. So thank you for making that choice. And I mean, selfishly, so I don't have to make that choice. So thank you. Just going through some numbers, I just want to highlight on what was said about the contract with the state out at the airport. From a response standpoint, I have some intimate knowledge out there of what it actually takes for a response. We had a response, it was probably 2 years ago now, where completely accidental, but a firearm went through the checkpoint, and that's a complete shutdown. Everything shuts down, TSA can't do anything, and we have to have law enforcement at the airport. Just so happened, of course, the way it works, that no one was on days. The person had worked nights the night before, and we were 30 minutes. 30 plus minutes actually, but 30 minutes for response time at the airport. So, from the money aspect of that, there is potential of $6,600 a month. Potential of that. If they're there every day, and show up for the window of time. Currently, with the current average stats that were provided, we on average would receive about $1,700 a month. On average, that's what we're receiving. So that's untapped. If we look at annual, what does that look like? So there's potential of $79,000 with that contract. That's the highest potential, and right now we're 21,000. That's how much on average, if that's the correct number. So I mean, $58,000. That's the difference. If we couple that with some overtime, there's where we can start looking for some money. So again, thank you for your service.
I echo everything. I appreciate all of you and your families. I appreciate what you do for Cordova. I thank you to Chief Goss, and your family. You will be missed. We're sorry to see you go. And I look forward to figuring out how to help the city manager and city council find some money so that we can support you to support us. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you. I guess I'll echo all those comments, good comments of council, and I remember it was a couple budgets ago, we had a long discussion on, there was a request for one more officer. We did find money. I know we actually, that's when we were discussing upping the tax on alcohol, cigarettes, and marijuana, and it was council's decision that money should go to funding the officer, that money kind of set aside that way. So I'm a little bit surprised. I thought that was fixing the problem, bringing one more officer on. Now we're hearing that we need that officer and 2 more officers at least. So it's good to educate council, what's needed. This was very informative to me. So thank you very much. I think with that, we've got an executive session to go into. And I'd entertain a motion to go into executive session.
We'll trade them right there for you.
Nice, Mayor. I move that we go into executive session for the purpose of discussing with the city manager the collective bargaining agreement, negotiations, a subject which is a matter of immediate knowledge which would clearly have an adverse effect upon the finances of the government.
Second.
Without objection, we'll go into executive session and we'll take a 10-minute recess while the room clears. Okay, it's 8:42, we're coming out of executive session, and it was this discussion on the, help me out there, the employee contract, yes. All right.
I doubt
A lot of
this is-
further business. We are adjourned without exception. Good.